Welcome to the Connected Enterprise Podcast. This is Carl Lewis, your host from Vision33. And today my guest is David Wachs from Handwrytten. David, welcome to the podcast. Please tell us about yourself and about Handwrytten.
Carl, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Handwrytten, well, my background, just to start, I've come from about 18 years in the messaging space. So I started off in text messaging, where we started in real estate, where you text in for information on houses, and then we moved into more marketing messaging for brands. So we worked with Abercrombie and Fitch, Toys R Us, Sam's Club, Office Max, the Tribune papers, Marie Claire magazine, Fast Company magazine. We work with all these organizations, helping them communicate with their readers and users and proprietor or guests of their restaurants, et cetera, using the text messages. And over that time, and when I sold that company in 2012 to a marketing agency called Hello World, which is now part of Merkle. And over that time, what I realized is we were starting to become inundated with electronic communication, not just text messages, but emails, tweets. Then after I left, Slack and Instagram and Facebook and all this other stuff. And I thought, gee, what can I do to kind of cut through that noise? And when I left Sell It, that texting company I started, I wanted to send personalized messages out, of thanks to the people that helped me, both my clients and my employees. What could I send them that would cut through that noise? And I thought, gee, handwritten notes would do it, because I saw handwritten notes sitting on the desks of my employees. I obviously kept them on my desk. I had them at home. So I knew not only were they read, but they were kept, which was kind of a unique thing in that, with messaging. So that's how I started Handwrytten. And Handwrytten is a platform for sending handwritten notes. You can use integrations via Zapier or API or Integromat, SyncSpider, all these different sources to get notes into our system, or just obviously go into our website, handwrytten.com, use our iPhone app, Android app, salesforce.com integration, HubSpot integration, whatever you want to do to get notes into our system and write your messages of thanks or your discount codes, whatever you want to send, you go through that platform to do it. And then we have robots, actual robots, not marketing speak, but real robots on the other side that write out your note in blue gel pen on the stationery of your choice, in the handwriting style of your choice. We can include your business card. We can include gift cards to major brands. And then we stamp it with a real stamp and mail it all within one business day. So currently, we average around 4,000 to 5,000 notes a day. During the holidays, that could be 10,000 to 15,000 notes a day. We have 115 robots that we use to power this. These robots are built here in our facility in Phoenix. They're totally proprietary. They're laser cut and 3D printed and assembled. I actually programmed the robots. I no longer do much other than that. These robots create the most realistic handwriting of any auto pen or system out there. And we're proud to be the largest in the world doing this.
Yeah, I was on your website kind of taking a look at some of that technology, which is pretty amazing. And, I'm always interested in ways that, people stay in touch with their supply chain, their customers, their vendors, their employees, all of it. And do you have some examples of, companies that are doing this and how they're taking advantage of the technology to do specific things?
Yeah, and we range all the way from mom and pop stores to large Fortune 100 companies. Pardon me, I'm just closing my Outlook here because it's electronic messaging, beeping, beeping, beeping. So to give you an example, I love this example. We have a piano tuner in Pennsylvania. They're in your home once a year tuning your piano, and then you don't need your piano tuned more than once a year. So that's it. After tuning your piano, they send you a thank you note for the opportunity to tune it. When the gentleman is back in your home a year later, he often sees those handwritten notes standing on the piano or attached to the refrigerator. And I cannot think of any other technology or messaging solution that will lead to a retention of a year. I mean, who's printing out emails and saving them, or taking a screenshot of a text message and printing that out? I mean, it never happens, right? So these handwritten notes are really unique in that. On the larger side, we have a snack box company. So this company puts snack boxes together for offices. Actually, we use them here at Handwrytten, like nuts and granola bars and healthy cookies, that type of thing. If they screw up the box that's supposed to go to you, they would send a handwritten note apologizing for the mess up, along with another box of snacks. Now, obviously, that second box of snacks has a lot to do with it, but what they found was those customers that they messed up with actually have a higher retention rate, a higher lifetime value than the customers that they never screwed up with at all. So then the natural solution was to screw up with everybody and raise the overall lifetime value of everybody. And they've done just that. So we do see it being used with kind of win-back scenarios. Around the holidays, we do a lot of coupon codes. We work with a suit maker out of, they're out of China, but their .com system is out of Canada. And they send out very valuable coupon codes using our platform, using handwritten notes to get the word out on these coupons, these discounts for the holidays. They find those coupons have a 18% redemption rate compared to their standard 3 to 4% redemption rate if they were to email that coupon code or text it to you or whatever. And then, other spaces. We work with a lot of automotive dealers. They will send out typically letters asking you to come into the dealership to trade up your car or get service or whatever that is. Now they send out handwritten notes. Those handwritten notes have a 23-time greater response rate or greater action rate, people coming into the dealership, than the printed letters. And when you adjust that for cost, because these handwritten notes are more expensive, it's still about a 7 times greater ROI. So, it works there too. We work with luxury handbag and purse companies. They send a handwritten note when you order online through their platform, just thanking them for their purchase. They actually include it with their holiday catalog. So the reason I'm smiling is I find this amazing. So what we will do is we will box up 5,000 or 10,000 handwritten notes, send them to their catalog shipper. Those then get inserted with the appropriate catalog, 10,000 different matches, and then out they go. So when you get your back to school catalog for this high-end luxury brand, it says, we thought you'd be interested on what's on page 27 or whatever. So we do a lot of that. But I'd say the biggest use case is just sending thank you notes. We also do birthday cards, holiday cards, but really just sending a thank you, I cannot overstate the value of that thank you.
Yeah, I think that's true. I have a couple of cards from 20 years ago that I still have, right? That were just when I was a far younger man, and a mentor sent me a note telling me I had done a decent job, and the future was bright. But I still have that one, and still take a peek at it every now and then. They work like that. I remember every handwritten note where somebody gave me a book, with an inscription or something like that. It's always powerful. You used a word, noise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we live in this world of automated everything and intelligence flying all over the place and all kinds of data. But I think this is an illustration of you can have all that power, but what you do with it is as important as gathering it all. So I think this is one of those things that it's not just because people are going to get used to very quickly all of these automated email messages, automated text messages. We all get them already, and they're just trash, right? So my inbox, if I could get rid of that stuff, would be very small. Right?
Yep. No,
very small.
There's a stat, it's from a few years ago, so now the situation's even worse, but the average office worker gets like 147 emails a day. They spend 25% of their day just managing their inbox. So it's a task. I don't even read 90% of the emails. If I can't get what I glean from the little preview that appears on my iPhone or in Outlook, I'll read that part, I'll delete it. So I don't even open these emails because I know the most personalized email or text is automated. There's tools like Persist IQ and Reply.io and all these tools that make it look like I sent you an email, not like a MailChimp or something like that, but it looks like a personalized email straight from my Outlook. And I know that is all automated, and it's more of an annoyance than anything. What really bothers me these days is this new trend of sending people emails saying, in putting them on a spam list, basically, sending them 5 emails in a chain, and email number 3 or 4 says, just checking back in why you didn't respond to email number 1, to which I respond, I didn't know I had to respond to all your spam messages. Where's the unsubscribe link?
Yeah.
It's become a real problem. And really what it is laziness. People don't, they assume you're going to respond, or they have this entitlement feel about everything. Why didn't you respond to my spam message? Of course you bought from me. There's no need to send you a thank you note, even though you bought a $50,000 car, or even though you signed up your company to a $100,000 contract, whatever. There's no need to send a thank you note. There's no need to send a little $10 Starbucks card. It's this entitlement mentality that's really a scourge on capitalism. And I think people really need to take a step back and realize they need to be grateful for what they have. In this day and age, there's a replacement for everything. If it's a product, you can easily go on Amazon and find 10,000 different products. And if they bought you on Amazon, they could have bought the second item down and not supported you. Or they could have gone to Alibaba and made it themselves for, whatever, as cheap as well. So if it's a product, there's a million alternatives. If it's a service, you can go on Upwork and find somebody to do it. You can go on G2 Crowd and find an alternative. So there's a million other things. I mean, God knows there's alternatives to my company as well. I like to say we're better than them, and we're certainly bigger, but there are alternatives. So we have to be thankful for our customers too. And it's this whole notion of being thankful. Not only is it the right thing to do, but it keeps you top of mind, as I mentioned in that piano tuners example, so that when it's time to renew, when it's time to come back, maybe you need your air conditioning maintained, or it's time to replace that car, or whatever, the $100,000 contract with that company is coming due, they will remember you because they'll keep that card sitting on their desk for a year. So I think it works. So basically what I'm saying is, people often ask us for ROI, and I say, yes, there's ROI, but if you're asking for ROI, you're missing the point, because it's a bigger conversation than that.
Yeah, you're touching on a couple of themes which have always been important to me, and it's probably part of what made me set myself apart in my career, was 2 things: the human touch, and recognizing that there's still a place for politeness and old skills, let's call them that, right? The things our grandmother would have taught us, that we still are connected to those in very significant ways. Nowadays, we talk about it as being the customer experience, right? Well, that may be, but I think we deal with so much volume anymore that taking the time to be friendly is almost an expense in our minds.
Exactly.
And I think, what you're doing is touching on all of those types of themes and giving us a way in a modern world to not forget the niceties of the world that birthed us.
Exactly. And, there's a lot of studies out there, easily Googleable, that say being appreciative of what you have and having gratitude is a path to happiness. And I think there's truth to that too. So beyond the ROI benefit, there's some just personal benefits that people can reap for changing their mindset to, gee, how am I going to appreciate this customer or this prospect, either with Handwrytten or with any other, sending them a bottle of wine or whatever that is.
I think, for me, it's like doing something without expecting anything in return.
Yep.
And what I've
Absolutely.
found the secret of that is there's always a return. But you can't quantify it, right? It's a bit of faith, I guess you'd say, right? That I'm going to do the right thing, and that's going to take care of itself and me and everybody else.
Absolutely.
So what are you thinking about? Technology moves quickly. You're a guy that's been involved with it, in your career. What do you see is around the corner that, Handwrytten is going to be able to do next?
Right now, the big thing we're doing is we're getting into fulfillment of product. So nothing that can spoil. So we're not doing any chocolates or anything like that. But if we have clients that send us their books, and then we will write in the sticker, the plate that goes on the front page of the book, a handwritten note, and we'll mail those out. So we're doing custom fulfillment. That could be shirts. It could be, inserting a card with those shirts, whatever that is. And that's one of our paths forward. We're also starting to get integrated directly with third-party logistics providers, where our solution is going to be in their fulfillment center. Is really a value add for them. Our big strategy to date has always been integrate. So that's why we're in Zapier and all these other platforms. We're soon to be coming out with a Shopify integration. Right now, you can integrate with Shopify and WooCommerce and BigCommerce and all that through Zapier. And quite frankly, you probably have a better, more nimble solution than our Shopify solution. But for those that are unaware of us, it's really just a way for people to become aware of us, because we'll be in the Shopify store. So that should be coming out soon. And then some additional plugins for HubSpot to come out to kind of increase our integration there. So we're always working on that. I mean, we're a small team, so these things take a little bit longer than anybody would like. But yeah, it's there's always another platform to integrate into.
Well, that's interesting too. So this one with the 3PL sounds interesting to me. It's almost like, you're going to OEM, the product to be specific to that location. They might have many customers, right?
Oh yeah. So we're going to actually be a store within their 3PL. So we will have handwritten people on site operating the robots, managing the whole process. A lot of this, quite frankly, has to do with licensing of open source software, and it becomes quite difficult if we don't do it that way. If we were to sell the robots, then we'd open ourselves up to all sorts of licensing issues and that type of thing. And then additionally, I'd have to create a whole maintenance arm that's running around and doing all that. I don't really want to do that, but we do have a couple good partnerships brewing with big 3PLs that just match up really well. They've got a facility here in Phoenix for us to test with, and then we'll go global from there. So that's very exciting. On the tech front, we're going to continue building these robots. Like I said, we have 115 now. I'd like to get to about 200 by the end of the year. It's a fascinating, if you're ever in Phoenix and you ever want to see this, it's fascinating, because I never thought I'd be in the manufacturing business, and design for manufacturability is an interesting thing I never knew about, and I kind of had to become aware of. When we started this, we were using CNC machined parts that we'd send out to CNC shops. They'd send us back the parts. It would take a long time, it would be very expensive, and we'd have to order a lot of parts at a time to make it worthwhile. So if we needed a new widget, we'd have to order for 50 machines or 20 machines, and that gets very expensive and very risky if you're just testing out that new widget. Then what happened is we started 3D printing stuff, and that has just changed our business, and we're able to print one part in just a few minutes, make sure it works. We have 3D printers that are of such high grade, they're manufacturing grade, not prototype grade, like most 3D printers. So they just go out on the factory line, and then we overdid it with 3D printers, and then we said, gee, this isn't the right thing for everything. And then we have laser cutters now for those parts. So we've brought in these modern additive and subtractive manufacturing technologies into Handwrytten, and we've got some really best of class technology here because of it. It takes a lot of work to write a handwritten note around here. And then the other thing we're doing is we're getting into machine vision and machine learning on the quality assurance side, because when you stuff one card a day, it's one thing, but when you're stuffing 5 or 10,000, it's very different. And so what we have is cameras that know what vectors are supposed to be drawn on that page, and then when the page goes under, it can look up the order number and then say, yep, that's the correct vector, or no, that's not the correct vector, to try to improve. I mean, quality assurance is already great around here, but just as we continue to grow, we want to put these things in place to ensure that we've got all our I's dotted and T's crossed.
Now, I understand that completely. One of my early jobs while in college, I worked in a mailroom that did a lot of direct mail envelope stuffing with machines. And I used to work, 48-hour shifts, because the mailing had to go out on time, right? And it was just, 1,000 an hour, 1,000 an hour, 1,000 an hour. And it was painful because the machine would stop about, every 200 with some kind of a jam or something like that. Yeah, so there was I'm sure the technology is a lot better now than it was then, but it's
Yeah, it's been very interesting. Just getting into, as you grow, as you know, you find problems you didn't know existed. So yeah, it's been an interesting growth trajectory for us for sure. One thing I never mentioned, and I don't want anybody to doubt, the writing on our cards is the most realistic that you'll find out there, with the exception of you sitting down and writing it. So we vary the line distance between lines. We vary the left margin, so it looks like you're not starting at the same spot on every line. The end result, if you were to give it to somebody and say, what do you think of that note? They'll say, thank you very much. That was very thoughtful. If you give it to somebody and say, was this note written by a robot? Of course, it's going to undergo a level of scrutiny that people typically wouldn't put it under. That said, people are always baffled by this. We randomize characters, so they're each a little bit different. We cross two T's with one crossbar. We have different R's at the beginning of the word and end of word. All those types of things we've taken into account to create some truly authentic looking handwriting.
And I imagine that's one of the challenges for people because 40 years ago I had good handwriting. But it's just gotten really bad through the years, I think, because we just don't practice it anymore.
Absolutely.
And so I think, that's one of the I think people are aware that if you did write a hand note, it takes time because we can't just scribble it out anymore. If I did that, nobody could read it, right?
Yep.
So,
well, that's why they're so valuable, is because it does take time and it takes focus. And you can't be responding to 3 emails at once as you do it. You have to be fully dead centered on you.
Yep.
And that's the gift. That's the gift more than the $5 Starbucks you might include. I was in a meeting with one of our clients. They're a cosmetic company. And they said the closest thing to sending a handwritten note that I do is when I go into a meeting and I turn my cell phone off, because that means I'm 100% focused on you. And people recognize when they receive a handwritten note that you, for the last 3 to 5 minutes or more, were 100% focused on them. And then before that, you went to think, gee, I should be focused on that person. You took that moment to realize I need to take a moment out for Carl. And, again, that just never happens. And it's really a surprise and delight for the recipient of that note.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, David, this has been fun. Like I say, I'm always trying to share with the listeners, ways that they can use technology to stay in touch with people. And this is a new thing that I hadn't heard about. And so now we've got, a couple of thousand more people that, as they listen to the podcast, will get this idea in their heads also. And just sounds like it's a great thing that people could add to their business. And in these days, when all of us are trying to stay in touch with our customers, on a wholly different level and get us all through this, this could be a real help. So thanks for being with us. Appreciate it greatly. And for all of the rest of you out there, stay connected.